What I'm about to tell you took me at least 5 decades and a fair amount of pain to learn. So why should you listen to me? One of my former students performed on From the Top a couple times and now teaches music theory at Yale. I've helped a lot of serious amateurs rebuild their technique, overcome pain, and fall back in love with playing piano. But the truth is, none of this would have happened if I hadn't rebuilt my own technique. I was doing fine, not great, but fine, until I studied with a teacher who gave me advice that did not work for me. My technique fell apart completely. I had to stop playing for 6 months to get rid of the symptoms. And that experience pushed me to find a better way. In this video, I'm sharing the core truths that help me and my students go from frustration to freedom. You don't have to burn your hand on every stove. Let me save you some pain. Good technique should feel easy. It should feel easy, smooth, supple, to use Chopin's word, while you're doing it. It probably won't be easy to learn. As humans, we grow more like plants. And to retrain how you're moving, you have to become very aware of all of your ingrained habits so that you can change them. Most of the people I work with have very little awareness of how they're moving at all. If they do have any awareness, it's just of the fingers and hand. None of the arm, the shoulders, all these things are crucial to developing a smooth functioning technique. So be patient with yourself, give yourself time, and hopefully you feel your technique getting easier and smoother as you work this way. The whole body plays the piano. It's not just the fingers. It looks like it's just the fingers, and as humans we're very tricked by what things look like. But when somebody plays very well, it's the entire body playing. You'll see their body moving on the bench, you'll see the arms moving. The fingers are not just acting all by themselves only in one place. The movements are small, they're subtle, but they are absolutely there. When the movement is coordinated like this, it looks better, it feels better, and most importantly, it sounds better, and you won't get hurt. Chopin used to say, have the body supple right to the tips of the toes. I love that. Very beautiful description of this whole body way of moving that I'm describing. You can see it when Yujia Wang plays too. She's very embodied. It's her whole body playing. Sometimes she even jumps on the bench, which I like seeing. You do not need to practice more. You need to practice smarter. I would say the most important thing to know about practicing is that it's problem solving. That means you need to figure out what is the problem exactly. A lot of times with my students, they maybe have narrowed down somewhat where the problem is, but they do not know exactly what the problem is. So that's the first place to start, diagnosing exactly what's going wrong, exactly where is it. Are you missing the leap? Are you falling off the black keys? There's a very, very long list of what the problems could possibly be. But defining the right problem is going to get you closer to the solution. Once you know what your problem is, then start trying out solutions. Pick a solution, try it out, monitor. Did it work? Great, do it some more. Did it not work? Throw it out, try another solution. Eventually you'll hit on something that will help you make progress. Another crucial thing to do is before you play something, think about what it is that you're trying to do. Try to continue to think while you're playing as well. This is not very easy. The mind likes to wander. Try to hear in your inner ear what it is you're trying to do. What is it you want it to sound like? What are you trying to execute? Get a very clear concept in your mind before you start. If you don't have a clear concept, there's no way you're going to be able to execute it. Try to understand the patterns in your piece. How are the chords moving? Which parts are repeating? Are there several lines that are important? What are they? Can you hear all of them? All of this work of developing a very clear picture in your mind of how the piece should sound and linking that with a cognitive understanding of how the piece is organized will massively accelerate your progress. Finally, be sure that you play slowly enough that your brain stays ahead of your fingers. A lot of people play too fast, and then they start making mistakes, then they repeat the mistakes, and what does that do? It makes you really good at making mistakes. I have a free PDF download called The Practice Trap, and in it I list the top 10 practicing mistakes I see pianists making and what you should do instead. And I have a link in the description where you can go and download that. I also make videos like this every week, so if this is of value to you, you can subscribe and maybe leave a like. Record yourself often, very often, 3, 4, 5 times per practice. Record a small section. Use it to evaluate, are you solving your problem? Is it sounding better when you try X, Y, Z approach or not? Then you'll be able to tell, should I keep this solution? Should I try something else? I remember the first time I recorded myself, I played it back. I was stunned. I could not believe that I sounded as boring and flat. I was hearing something completely different in my head than what was coming out of the instrument. And it took a long time before I got those two things to get closer together. And the only way to do that is to keep recording yourself. You're almost never going to feel 100% ready to perform, but go ahead and do it anyway. Perform for your cat, perform for your dog, perform for your plants, perform for your neighbor, perform for the student that comes after you if you have lessons in person. In my community, we have a live performance workshop. Yesterday we had, I think, 12 people performed, and it was beautiful. People were very supportive. Some people played super hard, long pieces. Some people played not very difficult, short pieces, but everyone listened with respect. There was a lot of supportive comments. So try to find a place like that for yourself. I also have a couple videos on exactly how to prepare for performing. They're in a playlist. I'll link it. I think it's over. I'll link it up there. One is how to practice your piece so that you feel very, very secure. You're prepared to do something, to correct things if something goes wrong. And then the other one is about how to manage performance anxiety. And I have had boatloads of performance and other anxiety. It's not easy, but it is something you can learn how to do. Pain, fatigue, tension, those are not normal. They're not to be accepted as part of making progress at the piano. If you're feeling those things, you need to change something, especially fatigue. People think, oh, I'm just tired, I need to strengthen. No, you need to not feel fatigue at all when you are playing your piece. That will eventually lead into probably injury and symptoms. Try to find out what is it that you're doing that's causing the fatigue, which takes us back to the problem solving. Joy is not optional. The reason you're doing this is because you care about it and because it's important to you. Try to make it as joyful as you can. I have one student who studied with me for over 15 years, and she has been playing this one piece by Mozart the entire time. I'm a little tired of it, but she loves it. It helps her feel like an accomplished artistic person. She knows it really well. She can return to it when things are stressful. A piece that you love dearly, make it part of your life. I already shared my experience with a teacher that was not a good fit for me. If you're in the market for a teacher, do your best to get to a studio recital if it's somebody that you are possibly going to study with in real life. Especially if you're a parent looking for a teacher for your child. Try to see if the students look happy to be there. Do they look proud? Do they look confident? Do they all sound exactly the same? Do they look frightened? Or do you feel like you are sensing the individuality of the student come across? And especially with teachers of beginners, they'll probably be mostly beginners, but you should see some students who are more advanced. And if you do not, that means that the people are quitting because the teacher is not helping them progress. Finally, I would strongly recommend listening to your teacher perform or the prospective teacher perform. Do you like how they sound? At one point I went to a workshop to learn a specific movement technique, and someone had suggested I come. We were both working on the same piece, and she played in the master class, and I could not believe it. I was like, I could never study with this person. I really do not like how she plays. I'm not going to let that person tell me how to play. She knew more about how to move at the piano than I did, but musically it was not going to work. You deserve a teacher that makes you feel safe, that respects you, that answers your questions, and that does not make you feel bad. When I was at the conservatory, my first teacher, he would look at his watch while I was playing, very conspicuously. And then I remember one time he said to me, "You sound like you're cranking the can opener." Oh, and another one is, "You have to stop crooning like Frank Sinatra." Now, maybe these images were supposed to help me understand how to play better, I don't recall learning that from what he had to say. I felt ashamed and I felt too intimidated to have the sense to ask him, like, well, how do I stop sounding like Frank Sinatra? What am I supposed to be working on? So you want to feel like when you ask a teacher a question that they answer your question. They don't make you feel bad for asking it, and they don't create an environment where you feel you can't ask a question. If they don't know the answer, they should say so, or send you to a teacher who does know the answer. I had one boy who started with me. He loved to improvise, and he wanted to learn how to do jazz improv. And he was just a very early beginner. But after a couple years, I said to his mom, you got to take this boy to the jazz school where he can learn to play jazz, because I don't know enough to teach him that. And she did do that. He continued his classical lessons. He eventually started making enough money as a jazz pianist. It was like his part-time job to save for college by the time he was in high school. Many teachers, they become teachers because they play well. They are able to do a lot of things with ease without thinking about it. So to them, a piece might feel easy, but to you, it does not. So they don't know how it is that they're doing whatever it is that they're doing. I had a student who wanted a piece that she could play for the kids in her school for the talent show. So I gave her the Bergmuller Arabesque. Wrong octave, but that's where I'm sitting. And she worked on it, and she came back and she said, I did everything you said, but I still can't play it fast. What am I doing wrong? I told her, I don't know the answer. I know the answer now, but at the time I did not know the answer. So we picked out a different piece. I did not make her feel bad for asking me about that. I actually felt bad that I didn't know the answer. 20 times more than you think. When I look back at my scores from graduate school, there are no fingerings in them. I don't know how I played them. Having taught as long as I have taught, I've seen countless mistakes that are a result of bad fingerings or fingerings that are changing all the time. I understand why people feel like fingering can't possibly be that important. It's hard to figure out, should you pay attention to the fingerings in the music or should you ignore them? And that's because some of the fingerings in the music are great and some of them are terrible. And if you have no way to know which is which, it seems like you should just, you just give up. You don't know what to do. But there are principles about what makes a good fingering. And at some point, if there's enough of a hue and cry of people who think fingering matters, I might make some videos or a video about that. I'm not sure there's enough people that want to watch that video, though, so that's why it hasn't risen to the top of my list. Theory is a superpower. When I was an undergraduate, I was not a music major. So I just took one music major class so that I could practice on the practice rooms at the university where I was. And then I went on and did my master's in music. I just barely passed the theory entrance exam. And my advisor said, you should take music theory. And I was like, oh no, I so did not want to take it because I felt like it would be too hard and then it had absolutely nothing to do with my pieces. And the way that my teachers taught, I didn't have any understanding of how theory applied to my pieces. It was all about, they would show me, okay, the phrase goes like this, speed up, slow down here, play louder, softer, but no explanation of how the theory related to the piece. And it's only on my own, working on my own, I realized that when I understood the theory of the piece and how did the harmony organize the piece, that I could then present the piece with more authority, with more understanding. Someone came up to me, I remember at one point after a performance, and it was a trio, and he said, it was really beautiful, but you were the only one that understood the piece. And I think that's what he was referring to. I remember when I first discovered it, I was like, oh, that's why this chord is here. It felt like I'd been living in the dark and like a switch suddenly turned on and there was all this stuff that I had never seen before. It had been there the whole time and I'd never known. So hopefully you can find a teacher that can help you understand those things, a website. There is a very good website called musictheory.net that's free, that has lots of explanation. And there's a lot of different apps that talk about theory. The key is to try to learn it so that you can apply it in your piece. You are not your playing. They're two separate things. It took me a long time to get clear about this, to really feel that. I wanted so badly to be a very beautiful piano player, and I wasn't there for a lot of years, and it was really, really hard for me. Yes, music is very personal, and you're expressing your own self as you're playing, but you are not your playing. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to not be perfect. All of those things are fine. It doesn't mean that you're less of a person, a less worthy person. And you're allowed to love the piano and have a life outside of piano, doing other fun things. I wish someone had told me all of these things as a young player. Maybe I would have avoided injury. I might have been happier, but I'm here now. I've learned a lot of great things, and I'm happy that I was able to share them with you. I hope they've been helpful to you. If you're someone who wants to play without pain, without confusion, feel like you could be getting better faster, I do have a community on school.com, SKOL.com, for intermediate and advanced classical pianists. I'll put the link in the description, and I do also offer online lessons over Zoom. Thanks for watching, and I hope I'll catch you in the next video. Come say hi in the comments. Let me know what you thought. Give me any question that you have. I'll do my best to answer it. I do love answering everybody's questions and engaging with you in the comments. I read every single one and I reply to every single one. Thanks for watching.